Hey everyone, today the call of adventure has led me deep into the heart of the woods, and to kick off this survival journey, I'm heading down into the valley. The fog is incredibly thick today. I've got a trading post nearby, a tent where I can sleep or change outfits, and I've also got my goat, who's going to be my rock during the toughest times ahead. I arrived in an old, beat-up but reliable truck, bringing along a shovel and a lawnmower to start gathering feed for my future herd. Now, even though the forest is packed with trees, I can't just start chopping them down yet because I need to buy a chainsaw first, and my ticket to that is this metal detector. It's an interesting little mechanic. As I roam around, I get audio cues and a distance readout to hidden items. It's all about finding that sweet spot and tracking down the right pixel. It's not difficult, but it is time-consuming. The most valuable item I've found so far was worth $80, but that's rare. Most finds are only worth about $20. Plus, the character won't even pick up the junk, so about 1 in every 4 items is actually worth the effort. After about 20 minutes of grinding, I finally had enough cash, so I picked up the chainsaw for $1,000 and moved on to phase 2. I took down my first tree, but realized I couldn't haul the whole thing at once, so I cut it into smaller sections and went to check the payout. $98, not bad at all. I parked the truck closer and started loading up these logs. It's a slow process and definitely not easy, but that's exactly what you'd expect when playing on hardcore mode. I filled the truck up and headed to the sell point, and the payout was solid, $1,000. I decided to switch into my work gear and suddenly remembered my truck has a winch. It's an incredible vehicle, as long as the weight stays under 3 tons. It worked like a charm. The truck handled it without breaking a sweat, and for this massive trunk, I walked away with $4,300. On hardcore difficulty, that's massive. Looking ahead, I want to build a small sawmill to boost my profits, but for now, I'll keep grinding with what I've got. With $20,000 in the bank, I decided to invest in my first greenhouse. The terrain here is rough, and trying to level the ground just seemed to make things worse. I went with the pumpkin setup. It's a new mod, and I'm curious to see how it performs. The catch is that it needs compost, which isn't cheap at $1,500 for 1,000 liters. I tried pushing the pallets with my truck, but that didn't work. I bought a small loader, but it couldn't handle the forest floor because the tires just couldn't find any grip. It was frustrating at first, but I eventually figured it out. I loaded the compost onto the truck bed and used momentum to slide it off, which worked perfectly. Halfway there. Now I just needed water. After felling a few more trees, I bought a water tank for $3,000 and a mobile water trailer. Now, we wait and see how much the greenhouse brings in. I added 2 more goats to keep the first one company, then called it a night. It's been a long, exhausting day, but I checked the logs this morning and saw $800 from the first batch of pumpkins. It's not a fortune, but it's a start. Today, I'm back at it with the trees. Honestly, it's been a struggle. Logs getting stuck, me getting stuck, so I decided I need to save up for equipment that can clear out those annoying stumps. The more of them left behind, the harder it is to get around. To make things smoother, I built a solid platform where I can easily spot any trouble areas, and I'm planning to expand it later. I dropped $22,000 on a new machine, a massive upgrade, but now I'm missing the right attachments for it, which is my next priority. I won't bore you with the endless grind, so I'll skip ahead and grab a loader for $25,000. I was really hoping it would do the job, and thankfully, it works like a charm. I cleared the stumps off the concrete, but I'm still running into trouble on the dirt patches. That's becoming a real headache. I decided the best solution was to build another platform to make travel easier. It wasn't perfect, but I got it done. Then, a new problem popped up. Because the pumpkin greenhouse was in a bad spot, I wanted to move it, but I realized I couldn't just relocate existing buildings. I had to sell the whole thing just to try and reset the layout properly. My attempts at terraforming haven't been great either. Some spots are flatter, but it's still far from perfect. After some more chainsaw work, I had enough cash to start a new project, so I decided to plant a cherry orchard. I had just enough space for it, topped off the water, and grabbed another round of compost. I took a risk by trying to lift 2 pallets at once with the loader. It wasn't really built for that much weight, but I made it to the drop-off point without losing the load. Since it's currently the worst time of year for sales, I've decided to store the produce instead of selling it automatically, holding out for a better price. I did some landscaping around the trees so they'd sit in soil instead of concrete, and with the leftover cash, I bought a bunch more goats. Now it's just a waiting game to see how this all pans out. By the next month, I've got a mountain of small crates. Each one brings in $600, and considering they weigh 25 kilos each, that's a solid return. I spent some time harvesting grass so my goats wouldn't go hungry, but after shoveling up 400 liters, I'm not sure it'll last long. I really need to invest in a heavy-duty mechanical mower soon. A month later, the cherry crates really piled up. It was time to sell. I really need the cash. I parked the truck and started loading, carefully stacking everything so nothing would spill. We sold it all for $6,500, which is a nice payday. I picked up more compost, and we finally filled a pallet of milk. You can imagine my frustration when I couldn't get the loader to the sell point. It felt like I was stuck in a swamp even though there wasn't one. I had no choice but to hop in the truck, shove the loader out of the mud, and finish the delivery. With that cash, I finally bought a small mower for the grass, thinking that would solve my feed issues. But I completely forgot that lightweight gear struggles just as much on this terrain, and frankly, there just isn't enough wild grass around here. I managed to gather 1,000 liters, but I don't know what to do next. This isn't nearly enough to feed everyone. I'm going to have to figure out how to set up a proper field and plant my own grass. Since I had to do it, I grabbed some hand tools and started prepping a field. For some reason, rocks started popping up everywhere. I have no idea where they came from, and I just hope they don't get in the way of the farming process later. I didn't go too big with the field since space is tight, but I might expand it in the future. Next, I had to take down the remaining trees that were in the way. I couldn't clear the stumps by hand, so I had to call in the truck again to push out my stuck loader. I decided to take a radical approach. I built a concrete road, cleared away the debris, and leveled off the rest of the area. Finally, the field was ready for sowing, which I handled with a small seeder, though it cost me quite a bit for the high-end seeds. The planting process was actually really meditative and relaxing. After that, I tried to pick up the rocks, but I'm a bit confused. Either my equipment isn't working, or the rocks are phantom objects because nothing happened, and I couldn't collect a single one. Oh well, I'll just see how it goes. Once the grass grew, I harvested it immediately, filling the mower's storage to capacity. That's a good start, but I'm worried it won't be enough, so I gathered a bit more, hoping it'll last the month. I then sold the milk that I couldn't transport earlier, solved the transport issue quickly, and used the profit to maintain the trees and prep for autumn. A massive harvest sale is waiting for me. There's a lot of produce, but it all fits perfectly. Now that I've got some cash, I decided it's finally time to buy a small trailer to haul compost to the greenhouses, since using the loader takes way too long. But of course, a new problem arose. Since it's the wrong season, the grass has stopped growing, and I'm completely out of feed for the goats. I decided to try driving to higher ground for the first time. I loaded everything up and started the climb, feeling like the truck wouldn't be able to handle the weight. But to my surprise, it made it up slowly but surely. When I dropped the mower and started harvesting, I hit another snag. I wasn't on my own land, so I couldn't really utilize the area. It was disheartening, but I managed to scrape together a little bit of feed, even harvesting bushes and dry weeds, just to keep the animals alive. Next time, I'll explain why I'm not using pre-made bales. Logically, they should fit the system perfectly, but I bought one, and it just wouldn't register in the feed storage. I'm not sure what the issue is. Maybe it's the goat pen design, or perhaps the surface level is causing the trigger to sit too low. I even tried buying every type of bale available, but nothing worked. I'll either need a massive field or a new goat pen that actually recognizes the bales. Survival really isn't coming easy to me. Meanwhile, it started raining, so I changed into my work clothes and decided to expand the concrete work platform. I chopped down a few more trees and paved the surface, wanting to add another greenhouse or two. But yet again, the terrain is uneven, and for some reason, I just couldn't get it level. It's incredibly frustrating, so after wasting a lot of time, I decided to settle for what I've got and set up a small pumpkin patch, which I never got to test at the start of the game. My friends, that brings this first episode to a close. Thank you so much for watching, and I'd appreciate a like and a subscription to the channel. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.